Today on the Dennis Michael Lynch podcast, we're going to be talking AI. We're going to be talking with a man who helped Melania Trump create an AI book. You're in for a special one today, so get ready because it's all unfiltered.
Dennis Michael Lynch gives you his word, and he will never let you down. He will always fight for America.
The only one who really puts his money where his mouth is Dennis Michael Lynch.
Hello, I'm Dennis Michael Lynch, and I thank you for joining me today. You're going to meet Marc Beckman. Marc Beckman is the author of a book called Some Future Day. It's all about AI. It's about what AI is doing, mostly to the positive. You're going to hear a lot of positive. Now, you know me. I'm going to look at the negative side and try to find the positive. I'm always going to say, how you trying to screw me before I'm going to shake your hand and be your friend. And I guess that's the New Yorker out of me. Now, the crazy thing is that Marc, too, is from New York. So and grew up down the block from me. We don't know each other. The first time we meet is today. But he is a top advisor for Melania Trump. And he is a master marketer, and he is a master at AI in terms of understanding it and technology. He's a big technology dude. So I wanted to get him on here because I look at AI as a negative thing. He looks at it from a positive lens. Now, before we start, for those of you who have followed me for a long time and follow my Facebook posts, that picture behind me, the image behind me, is of the humanoid. It looks like a female humanoid, has breasts and all. And you could see that there is a baby being carried in a glass dome on that humanoid. Now, that is the most viral post I've had all year on Facebook. It has been seen millions of times. And what that is the Chinese have created a humanoid that can now carry a baby so that a woman does not, or for a woman who cannot. However it is you want to slice the pie, it is now there. Now, I have a problem with that because I don't think it is what God intended. But AI now is taking over the world. Technology is taking over the world. In fact, if it wasn't, I wouldn't be talking to you right now. You wouldn't be able to watch me. You wouldn't be able to hear me because I would be, well, if I can't be on television, if I'm not on the radio, nobody gets to hear what DML has to say. So technology has its ups, it has its downs. I'm a little concerned about AI, maybe more than the average person is. And maybe it's because I know more than I want to know. But Marc is going to bring another perspective to this. And I think you're going to find it very, very interesting. So without further ado, the author of a very, very exciting book called Some Future Day is Marc Beckman. So Marc, I appreciate you being on here with me today. I had no idea going into this that you and I lived down the block from each other. We're pretty much the same age. I'm a year older, but how cool is it? So we get to reminisce and meet each other at the same time talking about AI. So I'll tell you what, I'll bring you and I back to our old days. You know, when you were growing up and I was growing up on Long Island in Nassau County, it was a really nice time in the sense that you and I, neither of us had cell phones, right? They weren't really out yet. We didn't have social media. If you wanted to go to one of your friends' house or I wanted to go to one of my friends' house, basically we had to get on a bike and you had to drive there. And if they weren't around, you had to go to the next house. There was only thin kids. Everybody's in shape, everything else like that. Now today, can you imagine if one of my kids came up to me and said, "Dad, I'm going to drive my bike to my friend's house," I think I'd pass out. So although technology, Marc, has been in many ways a friend to society, I also think it's been pretty devastating in some places. That's always the position I've taken. And I read up a little bit about your book, Some Future Day. And I tell you, I will be buying it after we're done because I want to get your full perspective. But you seem to come at this from AI is a good thing. And I come at it from AI is a bad thing. So I hope our conversation will be pretty informative for people. What am I getting your position right, or I have your position wrong?
Well, I'm a tech optimist for sure. However, I do realize that there are some downsides to it. So, for example, when you talk about our childhood and interacting with people and pressing the flesh, I think that's what really has given people like you, Dennis, the ability for your career to blossom. You're a people person. You're curious. You're interested. If you're hiding behind the screen of a device incessantly, you'd suck. You would have no personality. You would have no charisma. You wouldn't be as intelligent as you are. And the reality is that parents do need to find a balance for their children between access to technology and devices, whether it's AI, gaming, even Web3, and interacting with the real world. At the end of the day, we are humans. And in my book, you'll see there's a critical part that I talk about where I look at human versus machine. And at the end of the day, man beats machine all day long.
Before you and I hit the record button here, we were talking about how we have mutual friends at Fox News. And I'll be the first one to say, Mark, if it weren't for the internet, if it weren't for Facebook, if it weren't for, the technology developments, the smartphone, I wouldn't be around anymore. Because, when you're in the media business, you're only as good as the last hit if you don't have your own show. So a lot of times when I was on Fox News, I'd be sitting there hoping every day that either, Kilmeade for Fox and Friends or Megyn Kelly on the Kelly File were going to call me. And sometimes the hits would be one after the next. And then after that, you get a dry spell for 2 months and you're basically you're out of contention. You're out of connection. And now, because of all these amazing tools, I mean, I got an online audience exceeding 2 million people. So it's like I would never have the success I have today. I would never have been able to expand into my other lines of business that have made my life, charmed. But at the same time, I feel as if it's also killing me because I'm spending all day long looking at a computer screen. Now, to your point, Mark, sometimes when I go out and I do talks, I'm like, man, I miss this. Why don't I do more of this? And I think just as anybody else, I sit here and I complain, and yet I don't do enough about it to change that. Do you think that with the advent of AI, do you think that people are going to become more dependent on these smart devices and computers? Or do you think people are going to get so frustrated with it, they'll go back to the old world of wanting to jump on their bicycle?
Some people will certainly become more reliant on technology. But what you said earlier, Dennis, you used a very specific word, tools. And it's these tools, technology as a tool, that will allow for humankind to propel forward. I talk about this often, this iron triangle, and in it includes content creation with the tool of artificial intelligence, monetization with the tool of cryptocurrency, and promotion, marketing with the tool of social media. So it allows for the dreamer, for that young teenager living in the Bronx who might not be able to compete with you because of your connections that you've made throughout life, to go ahead and stand up a business and get paid how he or she might wish, right? We could do that, and it gives advantages to small business owners. It gives advantages to people who might not have enough money to get a traditional college education. Now, in this time period, all of the information you need is right here in a mobile phone, and everybody pretty much these days, it seems like everybody has a mobile phone. But the word you used, I think, is critical, tool. And at the end of the day, if someone wants to use artificial intelligence to create a song, if somebody wants to use artificial intelligence to write a poem or to paint a painting, the thing that the AI misses, the thing the machine misses, is the emotional connection that the true human brings with the audience. And that's what you have. So notwithstanding the fact, Dennis, that you're looking at a screen all day, but for your understanding of the issues and your passion and the way you present, you're going to beat, if you didn't have that, you wouldn't be successful just because you could leverage technology as a medium, as a tool. You're going to beat technology, let's say the AI version of Dennis, all day long, because you have your finger on the pulse of humanity.
All right. So then let me push back on that a little bit, because when I hear you say that, I agree wholeheartedly with you at this point in time. I think if we had a DML avatar or DML AI version of me that was speaking a little bit like this with the slight movements, and then you had me waving my hands around and saying, oh my God, we got to deport this one. Of course, you're going to be able to tell the difference, and you're always going to want to have the real, authentic me. But as this AI, Mark, gets more advanced, gets more developed, I think it's going to be very hard for somebody to determine who the real and fake me is.
Dennis, we're there.
You
So
think so?
I
Yeah.
often
Yeah.
tell my friends, my family, my business colleagues, seeing is no longer believing.
Yeah.
Do not trust, verify everything. By way of example, my agency built out the First Lady's artificial intelligence audiobook, and we launched it a few months ago. If you want to hear it, you could go on melaniatrump.com. There's a sample. The voice and the synthetic voice is uncanny. It is exactly that of the First Lady Melania Trump. It's perfect. Furthermore, big entities, countries like China, have already leveraged the value that AI brings with regards to creating hyper realistic video and photography. So this summer, although it wasn't reported, Dennis, widely reported, it was in Reuters. I found it bizarre that more news outlets didn't report it, but China put together an anti-American campaign with videos and written word into Taiwan, anti-capitalistic, anti-American, and it looked as real as could be. Video that looked like real people, words coming out as if it was real people. So, Dennis, we're there.
So then you go back to my original theory here, which is that my concern is humongous because, and I want to get back to what you did with Melania Trump in a second because I know all the people that are listening will be like, wait, what did he do with Trump? We'll get back to that.
Yeah.
But the problem is, I mean, look, I live this every day. You know, I've built a name of trust, Mark. So if I say something, people share it and they share it with confidence that I looked into it, that we're not going to put fake news out, etc. And I am at the point right now where sometimes I look at things 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times, and I'm still not sure whether or not this is AI BS or not.
Yep.
And so one of the problems I think, I mean, you and I could talk about this for 10 hours and we still wouldn't hit all the nuances. But if you just go from the high and down, go in the sense that you talk about China, you talk about Melania Trump. Well, let's talk about elections. There's going to be a time, if not this upcoming election, where there are going to be videos of people saying things that they didn't say, and that is going to change the way a voter will vote. I'll give you an example. Let's say, for instance, I'm running for president. Everybody follows me because I have been staunch conservative when it comes to border security. It's been my whole career. So that's how I got started. Now, all of a sudden, if there's a video of me and I'm having a bad hair day and I'm a little bit unshaven, so it looks like me, and they say, you know what, I've had a lot of thought about it, and I think the way that America moves forward is that we have to give people an amnesty. Automatically, as that starts to go viral, half the people who would have voted for me, Mark, is now they're gonna abandon me, and now I'm gonna spend my whole time fighting, proving that video was a fake, and I really have no way of proving it.
That's right. So, first thing, just to go backwards, first thing is, as you know, unfortunately, we're living in a day and age now that if content goes out and it hits on social media and it goes viral, it will typically be picked up by legacy media too, notwithstanding the fact that there's no verified source or multiple sources, as like a traditional journalist, somebody like you might care very much about, someone like me as a consumer of content cares very much about. Um, but you reach that mindset, whether it's a young Gen Z or someone in our age bracket, you reach that mindset of like, oh, I read it, it must be real. So there are a lot of problems for high profile people in government and beyond. That's number one. Number two, as far as the midterms go and upcoming elections, artificial intelligence is already being used in 3 different ways, Dennis. It's being used in a positive way for data analytics. AI is fantastic right now. Its best use is probably in analyzing data and developing strategy. The second piece of it is content creation, which is kind of what you're hitting on right now. And we should focus in. I don't know if you saw the video that Cuomo's campaign in the New York City mayoral race here. Cuomo's campaign put together a killer I think it's AI generated video about Mamdani and some of his followers. And then the third piece of it is using AI as a tool to reach deeper into certain segments. So, for example, we mentioned Melania Trump's AI audiobook, and I know you want to get back to it, and we will,
Yeah.
but we're about to launch that audiobook in multiple languages: Spanish, Portuguese, Hindi. And if we want to reach a very specific audience, we could use AI to create multilingual robocalls and beyond. Any politician could do that. So I do believe that artificial intelligence is already being used in this election cycle. Again, those three pillars. And I do believe it's going to be problematic to determine what's authentic and what's not.
All right, so we both agree on that. So then the big question is, how do you offset that? Because if and I get what you're saying, the benefits of AI are no doubt, right? I mean, I'm currently writing a book as well, and it's the easiest thing in the world because I've tried to write books my whole life and I just never have the time. And I sit there and I'm not the greatest when it comes to, does this have a comma or does this have a hyphen? You know, one of those things. So now what I do is I just take my phone, I dictate what it is I want the chapter to be, I put it into AI, it gets rid of all the pauses and the ums, and it knows where the hyphens and the commas go. And wow, I've got a chapter in a matter of 30 seconds, and which would have taken me 30 days. So I understand the benefits of that, especially it's coming from my voice, and AI is just helping putting it into the right written word. But when you look at it from more detailish sort of things where there's problems, how do I undo that fake video? Or how do I prove that was a fake video of me saying we should give amnesty to people? Because that is devastating. So we both agree that there's going to be problems with it, but do you have any idea on what the solution may be?
So, Dennis, I often talk about the fact that two emerging technologies, artificial intelligence and Web3, are inexorably connected. And one reason is for verification purposes. So, for example, when you talk about a politician being let's say, the victim of false content of AI, what we're going to see is, I believe, and in short term, a movement towards politicians creating their own content and then permanently embedding it on the blockchain for all of the public to see that it's authentic and it's verified. We're going to start to get there. The other problem that we have, honestly, like going back to that amazing Cuomo video that just like rips into Mamdani and all of his philosophies and everything he stands for, all the communism, is let's say that you're on the Mamdani side, right? If you're on the Mamdani side, you don't like the fact that that video might start brainwashing the opposition, the people who are voting against the person you believe in. So that will become problematic. And again, Dennis, as you know, we're living in this day and age where people just don't want to do the work. They're lazy, they're slothful. They might not want to go deep and figure out whether or not the content is true. And as a result, they'll believe what they see.
You know, I think what I'd like you to do, if you don't mind, because I can't explain it like you can. My audience is majority 50 and up. So when you say things like Web 3.0, they're like, where was 2.0? So
Yeah,
can you kind of explain what Web 3.0 is?
Yeah, I'll keep it really simple, and I'll keep it in the context of today's discussion. And I'm happy to always go back and provide some more context, Dennis, when you ask me to. So typical internet, right? You want to go on book a trip to see your family down in Florida. You go on AmericanAirlines.com. That website is Web 2.0. It's functioning on digital rails in the background. Imagine like a highway of digital rails in the background. What's happening is blockchain technology is considered Web 3.0. It's the evolution beyond what everybody in your audience is used to using. But the reason that we're excited about it in my world is because it gives certain advantages, including the fact that it's immutable. It cannot be changed. It's permanent. It's public. So anything that is on the blockchain, anyone could see it anytime from any place in the world. And again, remember, it's immutable. So that information, once it's locked in, it cannot be changed. Let's just stay with those two issues. So a blockchain, the easiest way for your audience to think about it is think about it as if it's a permanent ledger. And the ledger moves chronologically. So any data that's embedded in that ledger, it stays on that blockchain, in that digital ledger forever. And that's how authentication could apply here. So let's say I put a statement out today, an important statement that I am, for border control and I want the border closed. And I want the public to know that that's my statement. I stand behind it. I could take that digital file, then the audio recording of my voice, put it into a digital, think of like an envelope. It's called an NFT, a non-fungible token, and then permanently put it on that digital ledger, the blockchain. No one can ever change that. So if later on somebody says like, hey, you said that you want the border open, you are for Biden's policy, you want tens of millions of people to come across the border and wreak havoc in our cities and take our jobs and do all these other crazy things to hurt our economy. I could just go back and point at that blockchain, at that ledger, and show, here's the file. I said it. It's permanent. It's real.
It's funny. I like that. I like that for the other side of things because you're doing it in the sense that you're protecting yourself. I like
Correct.
it in the other way that we get these lying guys who are jumping all around and saying, I've always been for defending Israel. And then you go back and say, really? 3 months ago in the blockchain, I can see that you said, Netanyahu should be, on high treason. So, I like that. I like that if that's coming because it really does keep people more accountable. And maybe they'll think twice before they go putting out a tweet and a statement and saying, oh, I could delete this. Well, no, with blockchain, there is no deleting. Is that what you're basically saying?
That's correct. And it's going to be easier than I'm describing, Dennis. There are already companies like photography companies that are building it into their product. So you literally take the photo, click the button, and they'll embed it on the blockchain for you. So it's all built in. That's going to be a big part of what's happening. The Trump administration, in fact, it's worth noting, I was at the White House Crypto Summit, and I think one of the biggest things that the Trump administration is doing in Web3 is the ecosystem, blockchain, cryptocurrency, non-fungible tokens, meme coins, that world, right? Is they're rebuilding our financial services systems to run on this new, more advanced technology. For example, it cuts out the middleman, saves money, allows for transactions to occur 24/7. You could move currencies in real time without a third party. All of that is going to give our country and honestly the individuals a lot more benefit and power. So it's an exciting time. I know we're not focusing on that issue today, but I just think it's worth noting that the current administration is really doing a lot to give America a big advantage there. And our next generation, our children will benefit from that. There's no doubt.
Well, I'm so happy you just brought up the children because, we talk about the politician who's going to lose the election because there's a fake AI video. And although that would be devastating to the extent of, oh my God, Trump didn't get elected, Kamala's in here because of an AI video, just seems criminal. I'm a little more focused right now and concerned about something else I see going on with the AI, especially because I have a young daughter. They have AI videos and AI images of people doing things together that they wouldn't be. I'll give you an example. And I'll just use you and I. So this way, nobody else has to be victim to this. So I'm married, and I've been married to the same girl since ninth grade. But if somebody were to take your image today, my image today, and all of a sudden making it so this way there's a photo of me and you kissing back when you and I lived in, our two cities back in Long Island, which were right down the block from each other. First we said that we had never met. Then on top of that, they're saying not only they lie about that, but look what they are. They used to be gay. So what I'm hearing now a lot of is that these poor kids are, especially girls, are seeing these AI images that look real, where they're naked with somebody else and they're screwing around with somebody else. And not only does that crush somebody's reputation unfairly so, but in some cases, it's causing these kids to commit suicide. I mean, it's one thing when you got a politician who has $100 million in his pack, but it's another thing when you've got a little kid sitting at home and they don't know what to do, so they take their own lives. What's your answer on that?
Yeah, Dennis, it's a good point that you're bringing up, and it's an interesting thing because personally, I don't really like government. I come from the school of like less government is better, hands off. Leave me alone. Who are you, Nancy Pelosi, to tell me what's right for my kids? In this exercise, what you're talking about is a situation where you have family, corporations, and the government. For example, there's something called non-consensual intimate imagery, which is basically deep fake porn. And there was a young girl in Texas about a year ago, year and a half ago. She woke up one morning in high school, 16, I think 15, 16 at the time, Texas. Woke up one morning and found that an image of her face was superimposed on another body that was performing a sexual act. It was not her. Some mean kids in her school posted it. And she went into her parents' room, and you can imagine her whole life and the parents' entire life, like they were crushed.
Yeah.
They were crushed. It's a horrible situation. So what do? It's flowing through social media. It started on Snapchat, Snap, and then it started moving across Meta's platforms, Facebook, Instagram, et cetera. So the parents start making phone calls. Corporations don't help. It's interesting, right? Like no one even answers. They don't get on the phone. Remember, the corporations have a fiduciary duty to drive shareholder value, just
right.
worth noting at this point in time. And then ultimately what happened was there was an act that was passed. It was a bipartisan measure. Melania Trump was involved in it, actually. She spearheaded it. It's called the Take It Down Act. And it was Senator Cruz in Texas and Senator Klobuchar. And it was passed right away. It was almost 100% in the House. And basically what they do with this act, the Take It Down Act, is if a victim reports deep fake porn, non-consensual intimate imagery, the social media platform then is legally obligated to take that porn down. And if they're not, they're penalized financially. And it's an interesting thing to look at where we're going with this tension between family, corporations, and government, because in this instance, we actually needed the government to step in to protect our children. And you're going to see more issues like this with school shootings, for example. I think we're going to start to see technology coming in and playing a role and beyond. And it's always going to have this weird tension of like, what is the parent's responsibility to inform their children? What's the corporate responsibility to protect the children? And then does government need to step in over and over again at this point in time, Dennis?
Well, my personal take on this is that there's no way to stop this. Look, Mark, I go back to the way we started the conversation. If somebody asked me right now, snap a finger, you could have it where there are no smartphones. You're going back to dialing the phone, right? And you don't have any technology. You can't do a live feed with Mark on your computer. You just got to go back to the old world, or you could have it today. I'd go back to the old world because I think that the innocence that you and I grew up with it's lost. And I don't see kids anymore playing hockey in the street like we did back in Belmore.
Totally.
I don't see us. I never see kids shooting hoops anymore. Playing Ring Alevio. My God, there was probably a point in time in my life, Mark, where I would say, "Damn it, those kids freaking make me. I'm watching my movie." Now I'd almost pay money to have somebody ring Alevio me. So this way, ring and rung. So they ring and run. So this way, I feel like back in the old days. But my concern, Mark, about and kudos to Melania Trump and everybody else who got that passed. But it's almost like if you come out tomorrow and say, "Hey, I know Dennis Michael Lynch forever, and he is a child molester," I have to now to fight that, and the 1 million people who are going to see that online. When you come back next week and you put out the revision that says, "You know what? I didn't mean that. It was a joke."
It's too late.
Only 500,000 people are going to see that. So the other 500,000 are still spreading that I am a child molester, even though I'm not a child molester, right? So it's like it's already out of the cage, and I can't get it back in. So the only way I think this gets offset, and it's not ironclad, but in the case of the girl in Texas, if they can find the people who did that to her, who played that joke, they have to be held accountable even more than the Facebooks and the Instagrams of the world, because it is those kids who initiated that entire nightmare for that girl. And if they're not held accountable and used as an example, Mark, then everybody's going to keep on doing it. It's the same thing why you have open borders, because everybody comes and knows they're never going to get in trouble. It's the same reason why Antifa's out in the streets and they keep on doing it, because nobody's arresting them in Portland. So unless we crack down on these bad actors, and I mean crack down hard, I don't think there's a way we're ever going to stop it, even if we go after a corporation, because like I said, the sand is already out of the bottle. You're never going to get all the grains back in.
Yeah, I mean, people need to be held accountable for their actions. There's no doubt about it. We need to live in a society, or at least get back to a society where respect is a cornerstone. And we've lost that. We can't even respect differing opinions anymore, let alone leveraging a technology like artificial intelligence to hurt a friend of yours in school or something like this. So I agree with you. I think it's time for us to re-examine where we are in society and figure out how to get back to, like, to your point, some of the basics, you know. Basics are good. By the way, like, beyond, you making me feel very nostalgic for the way we were brought up.
Yeah.
It also allows for us to think and to dream. Like, my kids during the summer, they're not allowed to have devices. They don't use it. And just think about something as simple as like walking across a field, walking across a football field or a soccer field, during the summer, having your thoughts, like the ideas and concepts coming across just at the end of the game, walking across the field versus having a phone blasting TikTok in your face. 2 months without a device is a very healthy thing for kids. There's no doubt about it.
And adults, look, man, last night I went for a walk. I walk usually every night and I couldn't find my headphones. So usually when I'm walking, I'm listening to a podcast or I'm listening to music or something like that. And when you're filling your ears with this digital everything, last night I had to walk without it. I started hearing owls. I'm like, oh, wow, there's owls here or whatever it may be. It was like, I missed nature. I said, well, I got to break away from this digital thing for a while. But let's shift in here for a second on the jobs aspect of this, okay? So we've kind of talked about, the human toll, if you will, on the negative side. On the job side of things, I mean, I can tell you we're building a new app. I've had an app for 9 years, Mark, and it's been a great thing for me. And I have a lot of people, probably about 500,000 people downloaded it, but it is getting old. And so now we're doing a new app. And I mean, I'm literally building the app in minutes using AI. And I'm saying, oh my God, this is so easy. It's so easy. And it's cost effective as well. I mean, it's costing me nothing compared to the tens of thousands it cost me the thing to do the other one. But I just saw a report that said that Amazon may get rid of 600,000 employees because of AI. And so now my next concern is, yeah, sure, the Dennises and the Amazons of the world are going to wind up saving a lot of money and they're going to expedite things, but at the cost of whom? Because I could tell you that I'm not hiring another developer and, I'm only one guy, small business, but then, AI is going to eliminate 600,000 jobs at Amazon just to start. I mean, are we going to see a world where we're basically all extinct because AI is taking away our ability to make money?
Well, Dennis, remember you're talking to a tech optimist. So I look back at the fear that you're talking about when technology throughout history entered society. So even with automobiles, people were like, oh no, automobiles are coming. We need to stick with the horses and the carriages. But all different types of collateral businesses and jobs come out of it, right? So with automobiles, we don't think about it often, but it created roads, and the roads created more businesses along the roads. And, because of cars, industry really changed, more jobs were created, and America flourished. And I think we're going to see the same thing here with regards to artificial intelligence. We're going to see different types of needs in the marketplace that will be satisfied, different types of jobs. And it's not just this. Remember, artificial intelligence, it's like a three-legged stool. There's the algorithm, the software that you and I are talking a lot about, but there's hardware, chips, hyperscale data centers, and then the third leg of the stool is energy. We're going to need a ton of energy going forward to manage this. So there's going to be wealth and there's going to be new job creation, but I will not, again, I'm very sober when it comes to these issues. We're not just going to see blue collar jobs like in the case of Amazon eliminated because of robotics and automation, but go all the way up into white collar. We're going to see lawyers losing jobs and different parts of the legal ecosystem. We're going to see accountants for sure. Remember, at the end of the day, generative AI is math. We're going to see even a guy like me in the advertising industry. I'm already changing the way my business operates. AI is going to fundamentally change advertising, content creation in Hollywood, in music. So you're going to see a lot of the marketplace lose jobs for sure.
Yeah, and and I get the analogy of the horse and buggy to the car. I wish I had a better comeback for you on that one. I'd need a little bit more time to think that one out. But I think the AI is an
Snort.
anomaly in the sense, Mark, because like you just said, it eliminates the need for the guy or gal who is going to do the manual labor. It's going to eliminate the guy or gal who used to do the customer service, even the sales. And so now it comes down to be like, wait a second, is everything in our world now a AI system? Or even, I mean, you and I haven't even touched on, humanoids yet. I mean, like right now, my wife and I were talking about having to get a new roof. I got two estimates, Mark, $105,000 and $115,000. And I said to my wife, it breaks my heart to think I'm going to spend $100,000 on a roof. That's nuts. I said, do you think we could get another 3 years out of it? And she says, why? We got to wait for 3 years? I said, yeah, because 3 years from now, I'm probably going to be able to buy a humanoid that's going to go up and do the roof for me. And I'll
Yeah.
save half the price. It's only material. And so, a lot of times you hear people say, well, the best jobs and, to avoid AI are those, those traditional jobs of the electrician and the roofer and the painter. I said, like, hell it is. Are you kidding me? I mean, I would make an argument. You made the argument in the beginning that what's going to keep you and I afloat is our personality and the human side to us. Let me tell you something. I don't give a rat's ass whether my electrician is cool, a guy to have a beer with, or he's a total idiot when he goes
Yeah.
out. I just want to make sure he has my electric working. So
Right.
I think if anything, there's a lot of vulnerability in that whole, services sector. Even cutting hair, Mark. I've seen these humanoids, the videos that Elon puts out of them cutting your hair. I mean, there's going to be nothing left.
Dennis, robots are coming. I break it down. You referenced my book. I break it down in my book. And it's really interesting because what's going to happen is you get guys like you and me who are like genuinely happy. We enjoy working. Our families are cool. And we might want to create more right now, right? We're in our middle years, but we want to build more. So who wants to deal with like these monotonous tasks? It's not just about saving money. Like, I don't want to go on the roof. I don't want to fix the light. I don't want to do my laundry. I don't even want to go food shopping. So I think the first thing we're going to see is like, robotics that are shared within communities. So like you and your two neighbors will share one robot. It pushes the cost of the robot down. And this is not far away. We already have robots. Think about this. So you put you upload your order for the supermarket, and the robot goes in, an autonomous vehicle, a self-driving Tesla, and gets out, picks all of the merchandise. Easy to do, right? They're doing this already you talked about Amazon. Amazon already has robots taking product off the shelf and putting it into a basket and sending that to be packed. So it's really simple to see this happen. Car drives back to your house, knocks on your door. You're doing your thing, puts your groceries on the shelf wherever it's coded, and moves to your neighbor's house and delivers the groceries. This is all going to happen very soon. Think about it. We have drones. We have autonomous vehicles. We have meta-humans. We have, right now, I just saw on a college campus just a couple of weeks ago, there was a food delivery robot. It was literally, it doesn't look like a robot. It looked like a cooler, but it was a food delivery robot that was going along the sidewalk to the dorm to deliver the food to whoever ordered it. It's incredible. So this concept that you're talking about, Dennis,
Yeah.
we're here. I think you're right. Like, you're going to save money. It's going to create efficiencies. The nice part about it, Dennis, is it also allows for, a guy like you to have more time with your loved ones, more time with your friends, and also to create more businesses and business ventures that you're passionate about.
I agree with you 100%. But it's funny. You just said something about I get to spend more time with the people I love. I mean, I'm a little freaked out, man, on the fact that now you can order an AI humanoid who feels like a woman, smells like a woman, does all the things that a woman does except for bust your balls, right? so, so I mean, are we going to be in a situation, Mark, where people are actually going to be getting married and hooked up with robots instead of a human being? Because I will tell you this, it is getting harder. All my buddies, same age you as me, and their kids are in their 20s, and I've never heard kids complain so much before about how hard it is to meet somebody these days. You and I talked about going back when we played, Ring Alivio and stuff like that in the streets. Well, back when we were young too, it wasn't too hard to meet people. You and I could go to Spit, or we go to Malibu, or one of these
Yes,
other different
yes,
places, right? And you go meet
yes.
whoever you want. They don't do that anymore. So now it's like, oh yeah, I met her on Facebook. What? I met her on WhatsApp.
I
So
think
it's
tech
real.
is part of the problem with that generation, right?
Yeah,
I think it's a combination, by the way. I think it's tech and also the feminist movement.
probably so. I won't disagree that with you. But I mean, are we going to be replacing humans on the romantic level
Yeah, I
with
think so. I think
robots?
there are two steps forward. First is VR, virtual reality, MR, mixed reality are becoming so hyper realistic that they're very enjoyable. And you'll see some of these kids that are, 15, 16, 17 now. They're in these like virtual worlds, these metaverses, more than they want to be in the physical space. And I
Hmm.
think they'll be very happy to like go with their digital version of their friend who might be sitting in London, and the other person's sitting in New York, and they're going to meet at a beach, and they're going to hang out at the beach for hours on end, and miss an entire day in New York City or in London. And I think that's happening. And then the second piece of it is when the hybrids come along. And this, again, it sounds crazy. Your audience is probably like, this guy is nuts. Hybrids, where a chip goes into an individual's head, and it allows for them to have not just access to information and data, but to see things perhaps that they'd want to see in the metaverse. So again, it sounds crazy, but all of your audience knows somebody that has a chip or a device in their body already. It could be, a watchman or a pacemaker. We're already doing that. I know, Dennis, we were talking about New York and Long Island, right at Northwell on Long Island. There's an incredible group of doctors that have been using brain. They're putting chips, implanting chips into the brains of individuals who have been horribly injured, and as a result, can no longer feel or move. And they've already had breakthroughs right here where we are, where because of artificial intelligence, they're basically creating a bypass of energy within the brain, like a heart bypass, but in the brain. And the electric is firing within the brain and allowing for those paralyzed individuals to start feeling and moving again. So we will see hybrids. It is going to happen. If you love someone and you have the ability to put a chip in their brain to make them feel and move again, you will do it. If you're a chief executive officer and you're in the boardroom and you want a big advantage, and that chip will give you an advantage and you could afford it, you will do it. So we're going to see hybrids, and we're going to see people locked in the metaverse for a long time.
When you talk about the benefits of AI, I mean, we talked about simple stuff like, hey, I'm writing a book. It makes it easier for me. When you take it on the much more grandiose scale, yeah, somebody who is subjected to a wheelchair, somebody who lost their ability to see, somebody who, has a disease to where you say, oh my God, thank God that's not me. Uh, I love the idea that these things are going to change the world at that level. I just saw a video for Neuralinks. I don't know if you saw it or not, where it's a man who has ALS. He's basically in a wheelchair. He can't even feed himself. And the robot is literally reading his mind and scooping up the food and bringing it to his mouth. So now,
Beautiful.
in essence, he can feed himself. So, yes, those parts of it I love. I
Beautiful.
absolutely love. But I have concerns that go now to another level, because I think even though you and I are kind of like just hitting and going, I think we're doing a decent job of saying, well, here's the problem and here's an upside, right? So we got them in two different ways. But I've been kind of saving, looking at my watch as well. because I don't want to hold you for too long. But the two dangers I want to talk about are power and AI getting out of control. But before we go into that, because I got a feeling we're going to stick in that for a while, tell us about what you did with Melania Trump.
On the audiobook?
Yeah, like, how did that even come? How did, do you know Melania in another life?
Well, I actually am, I work very closely with her. I am Melania Trump's exclusive senior advisor. She and I have been working together now since before her son, Barron, was born. So
Oh, wow.
I work very closely with her. I'm very proud of that relationship. It's the best relationship because we get to do innovative things in commerce, like artificial intelligence and Web3, meme coins and NFTs and beyond. But we also are, really doing great things to help people. So, for example, her Fostering the Future initiative, which is now really helping individuals from the foster care community have an opportunity to succeed in life, to avoid ending up homeless on the street, mixed up in sex trafficking and drugs, is just incredible. So I'm very grateful for the relationship that I have with the First Lady. And I'm also grateful with the fact that she's a risk taker. She's really innovative. She embraces technology. For artificial intelligence, Dennis, she is the one that's running the presidential AI challenge now for the country. The West Wing acknowledged the fact that she's the only one with that level of experience in the White House. She used AI to create her book, as you're aware. She also organized the Artificial Intelligence Roundtable at the White House, and then at United Nations General Assembly, in front of a room of about 100 first spouses of governments, she launched Fostering the Future Together, which is a mission to empower children as it relates to education and emerging technology, AI. So I'm really proud of that relationship. And the audiobook is incredible. If you go to melaniatrump.com, it's the only place you could buy it. And she spent a very significant amount of time creating it. Just because AI can replicate one's voice doesn't mean that it's perfect. And she spent more time, I could tell you, working on the audiobook than anybody would have if she just read the book in a studio. It was an incredible experience, but she's, without a doubt, the most high-profile person on the planet who's done something like this as it relates to an audiobook. There's nothing else like it. The voice is really uncanny. I would encourage you and your viewers to take a minute and sample the book on her website, melaniatrump.com. And then because, Dennis, there's been such a big demand for the book all over the world, we're gearing up now to launch the book in Spanish, in Portuguese, and in Hindi this quarter, fourth quarter of 25. And it's the same thing. She pays attention to the delivery of every word, every space, every breath, the pace of the words, and it's all in her voice. I mean, you'll get to hear our First Lady speaking fluent Hindi within the next few months. So,
Well, I'll tell you, you should be very proud of yourself. And it is, I'm sure it's an honor to be at such a high level with such important people. And congratulations to you on that. How much time do I have with you left? I don't want to hold you past that.
well, why don't we? I really appreciate you having me on your show. So let's wrap it up in a strong way. Like let's
You got,
you do what you got to do. I'm here. I'm here for
all
you.
right, great, great. I
appreciate-
didn't know if you had a hard stop. Okay. So when you look at the amount of power that all of this AI is going to take, obviously there are initiatives right now to try to build nuclear power facilities that will handle this sort of thing. I don't know whether or not we're going to have those facilities up in time, but eventually there will be. And if they get past the environmental problems and all the other different problems, do you see a point in time where AI is literally stripping the power that the everyday person needs in order for them to be able to survive? Are we going to be compromising who actually gets, the 1 kilo or whatever it is, whatever they do power based on?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I've never been asked that before, Dennis. That's pretty cool. Um, I think in the short term, maybe, yeah. And I'll give you a reason why. If you look at what President Trump did in the GCC with Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Qatar a few months ago, as it relates to artificial intelligence, the deal that he put together, he brought about 2.6 trillion in new revenue to America and American companies. I think it says a lot because I believe the cornerstone of that entire deal there is energy, to your point. And I believe that because there's cheap energy in the Middle East right now, and they talk about the types of energy that they're going to use to facilitate the deal that they structured together. They talked about nuclear, to your point, obviously fossil fuels. They talk about some renewables also to a certain extent. But I believe because the Middle East is really poised for, is set up to really support the energy piece of the AI equation, I believe it's going to shift the entire world order.
Hmm.
I think it's really interesting. If you start to do a little research, if your audience is interested, um, there's nothing like this happening in Europe right now. And Europe's been shutting down, as you know, their fossil fuel usage. They've shut down, I think, 6 or 7 nuclear plants recently. So all of a sudden, you see America going over to the GCC to cut a deal of this magnitude. We're going to give them hardware chips that the Biden administration wouldn't let them have. We're going to build these massive AI campuses with hyperscale data centers. It's all because of cheap energy. They can't do it in Europe. So I think the geopolitical world order is going to change because of AI, but really going down to your point, because of power, because of energy. And I do think in the short term, if we're going to keep on competing, America is going to need to keep on competing. It could have an adverse impact on the person, on the individual, as you're highlighting. It's very
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
I'd
I
want to
mean,
research it, but that's very interesting.
yeah, well, I got a bigger one. We're going to end the show with my bigger concern. But I mean, I don't know if you could see it behind me or not, but what that is, that's a humanoid and it has a baby inside it. And from a post that I had seen, I looked into it, the Chinese are now building using AI the ability that you can actually have a baby and have the robot carry it versus the mother, right? So you take the egg, you take the sperm, you mix it around, you put it in this humanoid, and now a woman doesn't have to be logged down for 10 months. And you got to wonder whether or not that's going to have an impact on society, right? Because I would imagine that having that nurturing 10-month period where you're inside the womb puts a connection to you and your mother in a way that you can't if you're robotic. And so, it's good in the sense that, I mean, I have people in my life who can't have babies, right? So I know one of the people in my family would love something like that. But at the same time is I wonder whether or not we all start to wind up having a little bit of robot DNA in us. And if we do, uh, I'm concerned that at some point the AI starts to look at us and see us as a threat. So right now they are almost a servant. I say, hey, take this chapter and make it for me. I want no errors. You say, hey, Melania needs this done in Arabic, and we get that. And I say, hey, give me the information on what the best stock picks are based on the last 6 months. At some point, when does that shift? At some point, when does it come that I become the less than? The AI realizes that it doesn't need me. In fact, if anything, I'm a detriment to it. I'm stupid. I'm nowhere near as smart as the AI. And my goodness, Dennis Michael Lynch has taken up all that energy in his office to have a freaking conversation with Mark. I need that power. I'm stripping that power from him. And the AI becomes so smart that it figures I don't need them, but I need that power to survive, and therefore starts to work in the other way around us to where now they outsmart us to trick us and send us in a bad direction or strip from us. And eventually, we wind up being eliminated by the machines that are much smarter than we are.
So, look, full disclosure, I'm not concerned about the elimination of humans because of AI. And
Mhm.
there could be a lot of other things beyond energy, you know, targeting us with our own weapons, creating viruses and outbreaks. I mean, it goes on and on and on. But personally, I'm not concerned about that. But there are also a lot of ethical and religious issues that are coming into play. I mean, the image behind you right now of a robot with a baby being implanted, a fetus being implanted for growth purposes is, troublesome, right? There are real issues as it relates to religion and ethics and morals and beyond. Um, Dennis, there's something called AGI, and this is effectively this point where the artificial intelligence is learning at a rate quicker than humans can train it. Effectively, it's a tipping point. It crosses the Rubicon into this area where it's training itself and it becomes arguably smarter than humans, right? It's going to get there. A lot of experts on the engineering and science side thought we were very far out for that. They believed that that wasn't going to happen imminently. Now we have leaders like Elon Musk who are saying AGI is here. It's coming right now. A lot of people think that Sam Altman already has it. Sam Altman is the owner of OpenAI.
Mhm.
ChatGPT. A lot of your audience might know it. So, it's again, I applaud you for these concepts, but they're not so far fetched. I think it's something that we need to be concerned about and take it serious, and we need to have strong leaders to address these things the right way. Because
I
our
mean,
leaders could be the bad ones after all.
yeah, I mean, look, Mark, if you just take the human side of what I'm saying and you apply it to the machine side, right? So you and I are friendly until there's only one bottle of water for on the shelf, and I have a kid and you have a kid, and one of us has to get it. The person who's going to win that battle is the one who's stronger than the other one, right? Or I got a gun, you don't, I get the water. So at some point, that's my big concern is that the AI starts to realize there's only one bottle of water and I need it and I ain't going to let Dennis do it. In fact, Dennis has become so reliant on me. I don't need a gun. I don't need anything else. I'm just going to tell Dennis that one bottle of water is over there in the left department and I'm going to the right department and grabbing that water. So I concern myself over the dependency that we are going to put into the sort of machinery that's being developed and that it could backfire on us. And look, it's called Murphy's Law, right? If it can happen, it will happen. So it's one of those things that I'm not going to say keeps me up at night yet, but it's coming. And so I like to be, you're an optimist. I'm usually going to look at things for half empty just because I want to be prepared. And so let's go to a happy place. So you're in marketing and you understand AI, and the majority of people who are listening right now don't understand it, not completely, not enough to where they could benefit from it. So if I'll give you the room right now, you got 50-year-olds. I'd say my audience is probably 65 to 70% women and 35 to 35% men. Explain to the 50, 60, 70-year-old how they can get involved in AI right now to where it can either better their life, fatten their wallet, or eliminate their illnesses.
Dennis, this is the cornerstone of my book,
Yep.
Some Future Day: How AI Can Change Everything. The idea is for regular people, not techies, not engineers, for people who are curious about how they can use this new technology today to improve their career, to create more financial value, to make their family life better, to enhance their communities. What I do is I take the reader across my book, Dennis,
Mm-hmm.
through the creative industries, finance, you name it, and I give the reader at the end of every chapter a tool or a set of tools that they could use now. In many
Awesome.
cases, they're not expensive at all. So, by way of example, I'm sure a lot of your audience owns small businesses. And forever, they've been looking at like the big corporation with the big marketing budget. And they're like, I can't compete. I can't compete with the bookseller or the fashion retailer or the whatever it might be. They just can't compete. Well, now the small business owner could buy my book and they can find the tools to stand up an ad campaign. And Dennis, you hit on two of the big efficiencies of AI over and over again during our conversation: time and money. And in my book, I provide the small business owners with the tools that they could use to stand up an ad campaign. They could write the content, they could create the images, they could put it out very quickly and for almost no money. And that's a great area where people can improve.
Absolutely. What about for retirees? Do you cover anything in the book on retirees?
I talk about a sad part of their lives, loss and death. Suzanne Summers' husband is a very close friend of mine. And as you and probably a lot of your audience are aware, Suzanne passed away about 2 years ago now. And Alan Hamill, Suzanne's husband, spoke to me about the fact that at this point in life, he's losing a lot of friends because they're passing away for one reason or another, and he's starting to feel a little lonely. And he's using AI for companionship. So it's an interesting, on a personal level, it's an interesting thing that Alan's doing, the use of AI for companionship.
Yeah, I just think there was an article about Suzanne Summers doing something like, in fact, I think we did it on my website. We did it on DennisMichaelLynch.com. Well, I'll tell you what, you know what, Mark, you're a busy guy and you got a lot going on, and I'm going to ask you, and I'm going to put you on the spot. I need you to come back at some point. I need you to come back and promise me I got you for 2 hours, and we're going to go down every single last thing, and I'm going to pound some really hard questions at you
I would
because
be honored.
I appreciate it in a big way. I mean, so you're a gentleman. So the name of the book is Some Future Day, and I'm sure people get it wherever books are sold, right?
Yeah, can I show you? I have it in my hands, but I didn't want to be intrusive. I
No,
just want to
please.
show you one thing because you're fascinated with this idea of like the human and the AI turning the human into a robot. So the cover of my book, you and I really think very similar, Dennis. So it's the human spirit, right? Art
Yeah.
form, ballet. And
Yeah.
if you look at it, it turns into a robotic hand. So it's
It's
exactly what you're talking about.
so, Mark, I got to tell you something. I'm so glad you just did that because I'm glad you're holding it. Keep it held up there. When I first, because, well, for people who don't know, Mark and I were talking about the fact I saw a picture of him with Brian Kilmeade, who is a friend of mine, and Brian was holding up the book like you're holding it up. And I said, "What is that? Is that like a freaking an arm and a hand of a robot?" And I thought that's what it was until you just showed me that. So
Yeah,
it's a ballerina.
right.
It's a two. Wow, brilliant,
And I want to
brilliant.
say something cool. Like
Yeah,
I purposely did not use AI to create this. I used a designer in London to create this image. But it's that tension that you're so focused on, this
yeah,
tension between flesh and blood, humanity versus,
yeah.
the robots taking over the world. So
Yeah. Well, I guess to a certain degree, why it is that I come at it from a negative standpoint, and I do. I come at AI from a negative standpoint,
it's
even
good.
though I'd love the idea that it's going to help people with health and everything else like that nature. I'll give you one reason. One thing we didn't talk about today, real quick. Elon Musk is going to change the way that X is going to propagate and put out news feeds. And he's doing it no longer when you put something up, will it go viral because it was liked and it got a lot of interaction or whatever. It is now going to be Grok, which is the AI for X. Grok is going to determine what should be and what should not be shown in mass scale. So I tested this yesterday, knowing that I was going to be talking to you today. So yesterday I tested on AI. I said, tell me whether or not this video would go well, like whether you would push it or not. And it came back and said, no, I wouldn't. Now, the video was about Mamdani. And I said that he is going to win this election based on what I see, and he's going to destroy New York. And it said, I will not put this out as being, high content because Mayor Adams is still polling well. I said, Mayor Adams has been out of the race for 3 weeks. And it came back and said, oh, yes, you're right. I made a mistake. And so I sat there and I said, my goodness, we're going to have a machine dictate what people are getting and what they're not getting it. And he's basing my video being up or down on fake information that's not accurate, not real. And it infuriated me and it scares the hell out of me. And it all comes back to the different things we've been talking about. What's fake, what's real. And we're going to rely too much on robots. And that gets me very concerned. So I'm going to keep on pushing back. And I'm happy I got a guy like you who keeps me from jumping off the ledge, Mark.
Now let's go for it. I think it's good. I think real progress comes from debate, from healthy conversation. Like I said, we got to get back to a time where critical thinking and research matters. So if you and I could create that dialogue together, in a way, we'll be doing better for society too.
Mark, where else can people follow you and get all your information other than going to Amazon and searching for the book?
So if they want to follow me, I'd appreciate it on X. It's at Marc Beckman, MarcBeckman. I'm also on Instagram and LinkedIn and all that. It's always at Marc, Beckman, Beckman.
I'll be giving you a follow today, and I'll also be buying your book. That's my gentleman's word. Mark, I want to thank you so much for being with me today. You're a gentleman. Tell Melania we say hello.
I will. I certainly will.
All right, bud. Good talking to you.
All right, Dennis. Thank you.
Thanks, bud. I'd like to have you back again.
Honestly, I'd be honored. It's great to see you.
That's it for me. I will say thank you to Mark. Very interesting guy, very likable guy. You know, it's amazing whenever you meet somebody who you grew up with but never met. We have a lot of similarities. The next time we have a conversation, and he will be back, the next time we have a conversation, now I feel like I know him. Now I feel like I can press him a little bit more, because even though he's a nice guy, I'm going to need some deeper answers about how it is that we're going to wind up saving ourselves from these robots who are going to figure out sooner or later, I don't need you. You're a detriment. And so far, nobody sold me on the fact that that ain't coming. So with that being said, make sure that you enjoy your weekend. Make sure you hit the share button for me, so this way everybody gets a chance to see this. And with any luck and with God's will, I will be here with you back on Monday at 9 a.m. Until then, may God bless you, may God bless Mark, and may God bless the United States of America. We'll talk to you soon.
Get the Dennis Michael Lynch podcast every day by subscribing on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and download the DMail News app from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store for breaking news, merchandise, films, exclusive content, and teamed email.